Otherwise,
Okay.
either of us will tell you. Just I want to see on my phone. आप लाइव हो चुके हो. Start.
Namaste, everybody. Today we will be talking about the Agnihotra, which is also called Havan and Home. This is a simple process which was discarded by our cognitive biased people. This was a science which was prevalent from the ancient India. And this simple but very useful practice of Havan with a small procedure is a great procedure which can help us in protecting our environment and our health. First of all, I will tell you for our Dainik Agnihotra. The Agnihotra was prescribed by our rishis, who were the pioneers in the well-being of the people. They described to perform the Agnihotra 2 times a day. Behind me, the Agnihotra is being done. The Havan Kund, which is an inverted pyramid-like structure, in which we put woods of different type of trees. The wood should not be of the cut tree. This is the fallen woods with their bark on it. The skin of the wood should be there. And we put that into the Agni Kund. This is called Havan Kund. And then we add some desi guy's ghee, which is called Indian cow's ghee, which is very effective in treating many diseases. This is the main vehicle of the Agnihotra, and the samagri is also added in it. The samagri which is used for this have many herbs and food items, cereals, and other things which are good for our health and environment. But the process of Havan changes with the requirement. As the climate changes, as the requirement changes, the herbs and the combination of the herbs changes, but the cow ghee remains the same. Somewhere, some people use only cow dung and desi ghee, the cow's butter, which is called for the purpose. But in our ancient text, this cow dung is not used as a samagri or as a samidha, which is called as a wood which we use for the performance of this Agnihotra or Havan. But the people who performed with the cow dung and with the unbroken rice and ghee, they have also recorded very benefits of this Agnihotra. The Agnihotra, which when we do daily, the only requirement is of the 20 gram of ghee, 50 gram of samagri, and half kg of wood. This is sufficient for a Dainik Agnihotra. The Agnihotra is performed at the time of sun rise and sun before the sunset. There is a great logic in the performance of this Agnihotra. Before sunset and after sunrise, there is very much clear that sun rays have so much infrared and ultraviolet rays at that time, and which they require for many different type of chemicals and reactions to happen there. But if we consider otherwise, the exact time for sunset and sunrise is different at different places, but the main consideration is that we should do it in the sunlight just before sunset and just after sunrise. In the ancient wisdom of our Vedas, we can believe that all these things which were performed have the great value. Many scientists, many researchers have done so many work on this, and they have discovered that the environment is pollution is reduced, and the microbial count with where the Harman is done is also very much comes under control. So we can prevent ourselves from many diseases. In our text, the meaning of yajna is called Deva Puja, Sangati, Karan, and Dam. These are the Sanskrit words. The Agnihotra which we perform or Havan which we perform is a yajna or Havan. This is called Deva Puja, in which the Agni, which is fire, is called as a Dev, which is the representative of the any terms and conditions, and this is our obligation to rectify the damages which we do to the environment with our daily activities. All these daily activities produce pollution and other microorganisms and disease causing organisms. So we have to perform Agnihotra to clear all this. This may seems to be a very simple process, but as we breathe, breathing is, seems to be very simple, but the breathing is very necessary for our life. Similarly, the Agnihotra seems to be a very simple process, but it is very, very much essential to purify our environment. Some people say that it will cause pollution, but the experiments have shown that the pollution has actually been reduced by the performance of Agnihotra. The shape of Havan Kund, or which is called as a pyramid, inverted pyramid, is such that it has the dimensions so manufactured that at even if we burn the same wood at the same temperature, but the things which we put, they burn at the different temperature levels. The temperature varies between 300 to 1300 degrees centigrade. And when we put ghee and other things in it, some things evaporate and something is burned, some gases are produced. The gases produced are mainly, we can say, formaldehyde and other methylene, etc., which are very much essential for the purification of our atmosphere. When we do perform a Havan, the chanting of mantras is also there. Chanting of mantras, they have dual purpose. The sound energy also produces some beneficial effects. Usually we call it a positive energy. And secondly, this is mantras which we perform, which we chant at the time of doing Agnihotra. These mantras have the meaning that we understand our responsibility towards the nature, and we perform and thank the nature for giving us such a good atmosphere to live in. Then that's why Shatapat Brahman has said, Yajjo vai shreshtatamam karma. As this is the best human effort we can do to prevent our and purify our atmosphere. This also gives us a sensation of well-being and sensation of responsibility, and the cognitive biased people like which we can call modern scientists or the modern logical people, they say this is has not been proven in the laboratory. But nowadays we are seeing that the things have changed and the mind of the people have changed. The cognitive bias is being ignored, and the people are coming towards the nature and our ancient wisdom. This was evident when the primarily yoga was discarded, but now the whole world knows that the yoga has a beneficial effect, and many researchers have shown in their molecular biology or neurological changes that this has a too much beneficial effect on our health, and we can live peacefully and long life. And the mental peace is also related to our health, and the mental peace is also associated with yoga. Similarly, there is the Agnihotra. One thing is special with Agnihotra, that is the yoga is a personalized syllabus. If when a person do yoga, he will be getting benefit only himself. But when we perform Agnihotra, the performance of Agnihotra does help and does give benefit to all the people, all the living beings, whether we know them or we don't know them, whether we want them or we don't want them. So the Agnihotra is a social syllabus, yoga is a personal syllabus, but both are our ancient wisdom, and both the things, both the syllabi are very, very beneficial for our health and our environment. So I again emphasize that there should be a great debate, and the experiment should be done by the researchers and the scientists to on following points. They should effect. They should do evidences, to do experiments to create evidences. Effect of Agnihotra on human health, effect of Agnihotra on environment, effect of Agnihotra on other living creatures and other living beings, and the other effects of the Agnihotra, which have been reported off and on, that it also reduces the atomic radiation effect. Atomic radiation effect has also been reduced. This has been reported. There is a great benefit to the agriculture and purification of the water and air. The agriculture where the Agnihotra is performed, and the ash of Agnihotra, which is a great nutrient to the soil and a great purifier of the water. If we use that ash in our fields, and the crop which comes in the market, these activities they will create such a benefit to our health that so many diseases which we are getting in the name of today's modern lifestyle, we can get them rid of that, all the diseases. So the Agnihotra which we perform, and so many people have done experiments. There was an experiment in the 2008 where they have done a Agnihotra in a room of 100 square feet, and after 10 days the microbial count was reduced to even 91%. And a very much interesting report was there in the papers. In 1984, there was a great hazard in the industrial town of Bhopal, where the methyl isocyanate gas was leaked in the Bhopal city from the Union Carbide factory. And the only survival family, which was a Kushwaha family, named Kushwaha family, who survived that incident due to the incident, they say, that because they were on the habit of doing Agnihotra twice a day, and that's why the environment of that house was so that the effect of methyl isocyanate was not on their family. But this is to be proved. This was a if was in the we should have taken the notice of that, and we should have done so many on this, and many researches should have been done in the future, but the ignorance and cognitive bias, our phenomena could not do that. But now I know there are in Germany, in Poland, in America, and in Russia, many people are doing individual and universities are also doing some research work on all these matters, and they will produce some evidence because they need laboratory evidence. Now the people need laboratory evidence for each and every thing which have been written in the past. But our rishis, which were called Apt, the Apt word means the people who never lie. Their sayings were called Aptopdesh, because they were doing and writing or saying the things which they don't have any other interest other than the human well-being. That's why we should rely on their observations and we should follow them. And while following them, we have the responsibility to create evidences so that the other people who don't believe in these sayings may come and they should accept the truth of the teachings of our rishis, which say that Agnihotra can treat so many things, and it is a process to be done daily. There were one doctor, Fundan Lal Agnihotri, who was in charge of Jabalpur TB sanatorium in 1950s, and he has done his MD from London. When they he came across the patients who were resistant to the anti-TB drugs, he put them on Agnihotra. And astonishingly, all the people who were treated with Agnihotra and they were resistant to the anti-tubercular drugs got free from the tuberculosis. This is the documented part which has been kept in the sanatorium of the Jabalpur. So there should be a cognitive bias removed. The cognitive bias should be removed, and the work should be done to establish the truth and establish the logic and science behind this simple but very important procedure. We should rely on our rishis because they have not prescribed anything which is not useful for us. When they have prescribed it to do twice a day, it means they knew something which we don't know now, which cannot establish it now. But we should do the things, and we should do research and create more evidence so that all the things which we know about this should be disseminated to the people, and they should get benefit from this. Thanks. Thanks a lot for patient hearing. Thanks, Dr. Akshay, Dr. Pooja, Dr. Navneet, and all the panelists, Dr. Alex, Dr. Burke, Dr. Kumar, and Dr. Neelam, and all the listeners. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ishwar, for sparing time. We got a very good view of Agnihotra at the background when you were speaking. I think the Agnihotra has been going on all alive.
Yes.
And we should assure you that
we do it daily. This is a regular practice here.
Excellent.
And we are getting the benefit of that.
Congratulations for a lovely speech. At the Journal of Integrative Medicine case reports, we encourage opposing views in favor views, but whatever views that are there in the form of data, we try to publish this. And this is why this particular forum has been run by Integrative Medicine case reports. And this is a part of exploratory series of talks and presentations which have not been investigated enough, or there is not enough literature, at least in the Google engine of the scientists called the PubMed. So we invited you, and thank you once again for a lovely talk. We are on Facebook Live, and we are joined by distinguished people who have been involved in environmental biology. We have people from microbiology. We have people from Agnihotra background, So I will quickly introduce to the audience who we are, and we'll just take questions one by one. Questions can be uh, in the form of comments. It could be critical comments. There could be proposals how to take it forward. There could be proposals how to why not to take it forward. So I hope, Dr. Ishwar, you will be open to uh, allowing us to ask you a few questions.
Yes,
Where we can learn from each other.
yes,
So
of course.
first and foremost, I will introduce to you Professor Neelam Taneja. He's our colleague in PGI Chandigarh. She's a professor of microbiology. She's here also with us. We are also joined by another colleague, Dr. Ravindra Khaiwal. He is in School of Public Health in our own institute. We are also joined by uh, Dr. Burke. Dr. Ulrich Burke is from Germany. He's a protagonist and a researcher with Agnihotra for the last 30 years. He's a big name in the field of Agnihotra. Thank you all of you for joining us. I will now allow the panel to put the comments, the questions. Maybe we could start with Dr. Neelam. If you have any questions and comments, you can ask the speaker. We can even discuss it among our panel, between our panel. So over to Dr. Neelam for any comments and questions. You have to unmute. You have to unmute your. Yeah, you can ask now. Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me to this panel. This is, we call it Havan Kriya, Agnihotra. Is it the same as Agnihotra? The people who believe in Ayur, this thing, Arya Samaja, if they used to do it, they used to do it. When India got freedom, there was a huge movement of Arya Samaja. So is it the same? Agnihotra is the same as the Havan, which was done by Arya Samaji people.
So question to you, Dr. Ishwar, is
Yes.
Havan as known in Indian families very popularly? We do it on so many ceremonies. Is it the same as Agnihotra that you are talking about?
Yes, I can answer. Yes, madam, this is the Agnihotra which is usually performed by the Arya Samaj. But the Agnihotra which is being practiced in Arya Samaj is the basic thing which Swami Dayanand Saraswati, the founder of the Arya Samaj, has created or has conceived from the Vedas. And he says, whatever I say is confirmed or is followed, I am following the Vedas only. If I am wrong, you can leave me and follow the Vedas. But these the rituals, these performance which we are doing is exactly the same which is done at Arya Samaj.
Okay.
Great. Dr. Ravindra, anything comes to your mind from your environmental background? We can see the Havan or the Agnihotra at the background for last 22 minutes been playing live. We in India are aware of this, in at least in at least the Hindu households, and I believe the Arya Samaj households. Maybe the others who haven't seen it can see it now. And internationally also, maybe a lot of people do not even know about it. Do you think it is a threat to the environment? Do you think there is carbon being emitted that must be also considered while doing any research, or would you like to oppose this view of cleansing of environment via Havan or Agnihotra from the environmental standpoint?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Akshay. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Ishwar Chandra for very interesting talk. And now if we talk about Agnihotra and its application in COVID-19, so what I did actually, I tried to understand it and I made a Google search on a Google Scholar. So it was really nice to see Professor Burke paper there. And they are from, I can say from many paper and from many years, they are there. Then I try to understand means, are there paper also on COVID-19 and Agnihotra? So there is a one very recent article also about it, and I can share with my colleague here. And that article is also talking about basically for prevention, for treatment, and how the traditional Indian knowledge, either it is in the form of yoga or pranayama, jal netri, they can be used basically to control the spread of the, you can say, COVID-19. Now the issue comes, means do we believe it or not to believe it? So in this regard, I will say the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Means if there is no evidence that it cannot be beneficial, or if there is no evidence that it will not be beneficial, so we should go and create evidence, as Professor Burke has done some work, as Professor Chandra is working on that. So before commenting, actually, I would like to restrict myself completely going against, but what our knowledge says that whenever you burn something, means combustion process, you get some emissions. And these emissions means are normally in, I can say, in uncontrolled environment or somewhere in controlled environment. So they produce harmful gases, and they could be associated health effect. So what is your take on that, Dr. Chandra, on that? That means, could it be lead to some health effect, or we can we need to investigate it further?
You may be right, but the process should be as exactly as has been prescribed. If we burn the wood without ghee and without samagri and without the proper interval of the time by putting the samagri and ghee in it, it may cause the harmful gases to come out. But if you perform it in the proper way, this is very much proved that the harmful gases are not produced, the useful gases are produced, and the harmful gases, if they are there, they are neutralized in such a way that they don't harm our health and our environment. And but I also agree that evidence has to be created, and there are many people doing work on that. And as you said, like in COVID-19, I also put some hypothesis and a program to the government of India, but they rejected because they say you don't have any evidence for that. But they are doing all the things which have no evidence. They are treating without evidence, but they rejected our claim and our trial, which we should have done if they allowed us. But this is the cognitive bias which we were talking. If this is removed, we can prove it. And I believe the ancient wisdom is not against science or not against anything else.
Thank you, Dr. Ishwar, for that question. I was expecting Dr. Ravindra to say that this would be harmful for the environment. So let us now go to the expert who's been working on this for last 30 years. We had a microbiologist asking a question, we had an environmental person asking a question, and Dr. Ishwar tried to address that. But while he was doing so, Dr. Burke, he continued to call, to sort of label it as cognitive bias. Is it due to a lack of data out there in PubMed or in other search engines, research, literature, or is it that we are not sure if it is preventive or therapeutic? What does your experience with Agnihotra tell us? Would you like to share that knowledge and experience in the context of environment, in the context of prevention versus therapeutics, or just comment on Dr. Ishwar's take that we are all cognitively biased? And are we using it enough for COVID-19? You can pick anything that you want to respond to. Over to Dr. Burke. I think you have to unmute your mic. Dr. Burke is joining us from Germany. He's an expert. He's been working on Agnihotra, just to remind our viewers, for the last 30 years. Yeah, over to Dr. Burke.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Akshay, for inviting me here, and thanks for asking these questions. Of course, now it's a lot of things. First, Dr. Ishwar told many things about Agnihotra, many interesting things, many important things. But one thing I want to make clear, because now it is not the time where we could just say, okay, the Rishis said so, the Rishis never lie, so it must be true. That is okay for a few people, but majority of people would not accept that. Majority of people now, they believe in science, yeah? Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but it is the situation right now. So we have to be scientific, and that also means we have to be very clear in what we state. So one thing is, and that was a little bit mixed in your presentation, Dr. Ishwar, when we talk about Agnihotra, we have to be very clear which kind of Agnihotra do we talk of, because there are different kinds. So you and what we see in the background there, that is one kind where you have a very huge pyramid. When, but you also mentioned Bhopal and that people were saved. You said they were saved from Agnihotra, but that was a different kind of Agnihotra. That was the kind where you use this small copper pyramid, fixed size, fixed shape, only cow dung, no Havan Samakri, only cow dung, pure cow's ghee, some grains of rice. And we follow exact times of Agnihotra, exact times of sunrise, sunset, even exact to the second. Now we have an app on the phone, which makes it very easy. Means that within a few clicks on the phone, you can see that. You can see exactly the time of sunrise, sunset, hour, minute, second, for every place. So if you go a couple of streets, couple of blocks away, the timing already changes. So that is exact. So one thing is, what I suggest, when we talk about Agnihotra, always make it clear which exact type of Agnihotra are we talking about, so that we can see the results. Of course, I'm aware of other types. I was invited to a conference of Arya Samaj last year in Delhi, so I know all these things. But I know that they exist. I do not know about the effects. So what I say now about effect on microbiology, environment, and so on, that refers only to this type of Agnihotra. About the other types, I don't know. I can't say. We don't have any evidence on that. So one thing, that is one common question. Yes, you burn something and there's some emission of carbon dioxide. There are some other things which are emitted. There's some smoke. Is that not harmful for health? So first, smoke. You know, if you have asthmatic people, they can't stand any smoke. So I had an uncle, heavily asthmatic. I invited him for Agnihotra, and he said, "Is there any smoke?" I said, "Yes." He said, "No, then I can't come." And I said, "Okay, you just come, you sit, and you know, when you just feel a little bit uncomfortable, you just go out." And he came, he said, he stayed there for the whole duration of Agnihotra, and there was some smoke, even more than normal. And he said, he can't believe it. It is different. The smoke, he didn't feel uncomfortable at all. It was, on the contrary, it was soothing. So this smoke is different. Why is it so? We only have one clue. Normally, any smoke reduces negative ions in the air. This Agnihotra smoke, negative ions in the air are increased. That has been tested in Germany. So that is one clue. There must be more. It would be interesting to measure, to see under an electron microscope the smoke particles. But what we have done in North Maharashtra University, one experiment which showed that SOx, NOx, and particulate matter all came down by performing Agnihotra. Not immediately, it took some time because first we created some smoke, but it seems that this smoke collects other pollution particles and everything settles down. So Agnihotra purifies the atmosphere. One important point which Dr. Ishwar mentioned is that is not only good for the performer. Of course, if you perform Agnihotra, the best effect always goes to the person who performs, but all others also benefit. So it benefits all people in the household, and it benefits the environment. We have a lot of research done regarding the environment. It purifies the air, it purifies water resources, and it improves the soil health. The beneficial soil bacteria like nitrogen fixing bacteria, phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, all are increased if you perform Agnihotra and you add Agnihotra ash to the soil. That has been tested in an experiment and also published. So this is also why it's very beneficial in agriculture. Also, there's a lot of research. I mean, a lot of research. There's quite some research done, and that also is published. Microbiology, because Dr. Nila mentioned that, microbiology, there was many studies which showed that bacteria in the air are reduced by just performing Agnihotra, up to 90% reduction by just one Agnihotra. But normally you're supposed to perform it continuously, next day again, and so on. So that experiment is still waiting. Then bacteria in water, the reduction is there. We did experiments even by putting water in a closed bottle next to Agnihotra, the water was purified, reduction of E. coli by 70%. Then we did one step further. We put these bottles, water bottles, in a metal container, which act as Faraday cage, so electromagnetic field does not enter. And we put them next to Agnihotra, and the water got purified. And actually, it did not make a difference whether the water bottles were in this Faraday cage or not. That means there is some other energy beyond electromagnetic range working in this Agnihotra. That may be prana, of which the Vedas talk a lot. But till now, modern science has not measured that and has not put much effort into understanding and finding out. But we know there must be something beyond the electromagnetic range. So that is quite interesting. In microbiology, a lot of research has been done. Recently, one paper was published on the effect of Agnihotra ash on multi-drug resistant bacteria. That's a big problem now, multi-drug resistant bacteria, especially in hospitals, because antibiotics don't work. So what to do? The doctors don't know. They are in big trouble all over the world. But Agnihotra may be the solution. They did some experiments in a hospital in Pune to measure the amount of these multi-drug resistant bacteria in the air. And there was a clear reduction in these also. Alas, the experiment could not be continued because, in general, in hospitals, doing an experiment is not so easy to get the permission with ethical committee and all that stuff. And there's not so much interest. If you want to sell a new truck, there's a lot of interest and a lot of money behind that. With Agnihotra, there's no money behind that. It would just help the people, yeah. And that's not what modern medicine is mostly concentrating on. But we have this evidence, initial evidence, and of course now more science is needed. And that was the other point, about the science. Many people say, okay, you say Agnihotra works, where is the science? And then, especially scientists ask that, and then, who is supposed to do scientific research? It's the scientists. If they don't do it, if they want a proof first before they start their research work, then it's never going to happen. Who is giving the proof? That is a catch-22. So some people have to be bold enough have to have enough courage to start some research, although there's not much proven yet. Dr. Ishwar mentioned radioactivity. Yes, we have seen that in Kiev, that's the place where this Chernobyl accident happened. One research institute, Academy of Science, the Department of Physics, they got radioactive rice from Fukushima, and they measured that. And I suggested that they add Agnihotra ash in water, put the rice there, and within a couple of days, all radioactivity went down. So that is quite interesting. Of course, again, more systematic research is necessary. And what I try to do, and this is my main focus since the last 10 years, is to find scientists interested in doing some research and then coordinate some research. At the beginning, it was very difficult, but now the last couple of years, more and more scientists are joining. So that is quite positive. Still, as we do not have a dedicated research institute, it takes some time, because all these scientists, they have their normal assignment and they do some additional job because they think that's interesting, but it's not part of the job for which they are paid. Still, we get more and more interesting results. And if you give me the platform, I'm very happy to talk about more about these results which we got
Absolutely.
in the areas.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Burke, for those comprehensive comments and suggestions to the scientific community. We would definitely like to invite you towards the end of June. We'll talk to you about that. So back to Dr. Ishwar. So he endorsed two of your points. One, that it decrease the resistant, the antibacterial resistance or the multi-drug resistant resistance that is developing, the TB drug that you had mentioned. So he endorsed that. But one unanswered question is, the question is to you, Dr. Ishwar. Is it more of a preventive thing or therapeutic or both? And second, just a very simple question, how much it costs to do this Agnihotra, which is happening in your back, in the background?
This is preventive and curative both.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Preventive and curative both. But I still believe the prevention is better than cure. And we should do it daily, and we will prevent so many diseases which have to come.
How much does it cost to do
which we do according to the system which we are doing, it costs only 40 rupees per performance. If all the samagri, wood, ghee, and each and everything is we calculate, it approximately comes to 40 rupees only.
Okay. And Dr. Burke also mentioned that it has anti-radiation effect. So were you aware of that kind of a study, or you
Yes,
want to
yes,
add
the report. And probably that was of Dr. Burke's report also. I have read that is after Chernobyl catastrophe, it was given some evidences with the ash of the Agnihotra, which have the results which prevented or which neutralized the radiation effect.
So back to Dr. Neelam and Dr. Ravindra, our distinguished colleagues. Dr. Burke almost defied, he almost defied the scientists. He said, we need scientists, Dr. Neelam, which he said emphatically, who have to, come forward and at least test it. And this rhymes with Dr. Ishwar's comment that, are we cognitively biased? So, and then Dr. Burke qualified it, saying, do we need the evidence first? So do we need the evidence first to, do the research more? So what do you suggest, Dr. Neelam? He also mentioned that he's coordinating groups to take up research on Agnihotra? If you have a design coming up top of your head, listening as a panelist, if you want to grab this opportunity to come together as a team, being coordinated and in collaboration with Dr. Burke and particularly Dr. Ishwar, who made this excellent presentation. Would you like to present a plan or just comment, or are you open to it? Or you think this will digress from your research area? You have to unmute your mic. You have to unmute your mic.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Actually, I have been kind of exposed to Agnihotra. That's why my first question I asked was same, because my dad was a Arya Samaji person. So I really liked the Havan. And to me, to my young mind, it appeared that it had a huge psychological impact, positive psychological impact. I don't know whether we are studying or not then. Now, coming to the microbiology part, definitely I would like to be part of your team. And we can do some studies, especially about the multi-drug resistant, not Mycobacterium tuberculosis, because it's very difficult to do an experiment, environmental experiment on Mycobacterium tuberculosis without exposing people who are doing the experiment. But the multi-drug resistant bacteria, the part, if we get a place, a controlled environment, where we will leave one controlled setting and one the Agnihotra setting, which I think Dr. Ishwar Chandra can provide, if he can provide. And we need an PJ, it will be very difficult to do this kind of experiment because I don't think we have a place for it. You know better, you may know better. And some of the experiments which I really found interesting was can what we can and see some in control environment and see, and that's doable if you want to use experimental results. So I'm not sure about the TB part, whether that experiment can be done really without exposing people to Mycobacterium tuberculosis organism.
Thank you. So at least we have one professor who is open to the idea, Dr. Ishwar, Dr. Burke to note. Dr. Ravindra, what is your take on that? Would you like to be a part of the team?
Definitely. As I said, means I have gone through the scholar search and I found many articles on this aspect. Mainly, we can say that they are on, at this moment, how the remaining is, which we can say S is useful in agriculture productivity. But at the same time, how it can also be useful for the plant protection that is also there. Regarding the disease and their control, I think the evidence are lacking. But at the same time, as Dr. Taneja said, when we define health, health is not, we can say that it is mental, social, and well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. So when you connect, and if it is improving your mental health, means it is building your immunity. So there could be some positive aspect also that we cannot outrightly reject, but we need to investigate. And as Dr. Burke said, this is the responsibility on the scientist. So yes, there is a scope. And I fully agree with Dr. Chandra also that there is some cognitive bias already, because there is something I can say either stigmatization or discrimination against the traditional knowledge that people are hesitant to explore, because if you are doing that, you may be targeted or you may be linked to a particular group or organization. While this is a science, as we could learn from Chinese or Unani or other, how people are investing and getting benefit. So at this same time, we need to invest in our traditional knowledge. And when you, I'm saying invest can be either both sides. You can get a fruitful result. At the same time, at least you can say, no, we need to refine this. So this is an opportunity that we should build together and do some positive progress towards it. And I fully agree with Dr. Burke. And I think we met him in Delhi, where Professor Kirk Smith also came. So there he explained in a plant science workshop in Gurgaon near Delhi. So I enjoyed his session also. So, and as he rightly said that there is interest is developing, but not much. So probably here comes the responsibility of people like Dr. Akshay Anand, those who are having this integrated science approach, that how they take it forward. So I leave it to you and other colleague. Means this is now a challenge also, means taking it forward when we have so many restriction and some bias. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra. You're right. You are right. We are the journal which has a mission to bring the best of the East and West, not merely because China or the other countries are taking pride in doing what they are doing from their ancient texts and culture, but more from a lack of evidence to establish cause and effect relationship between any intervention, including Agnihotra. For that reason, yes, the Integrative Medicine Case Report Journal accommodates and solicits such individual cases who are benefited, as well as fully randomized controlled trials, as Dr. Neelam just mentioned. We are completely, and this is the reason why we brought you all together. And we are definitely looking for new a perspective article, an opinion article, a case report article, or a narrative which drives scientists to investigate areas of research that haven't been investigated enough, whether they are cognitively biased or not, or they did not have restrictions, or they had, or it was just mental. I don't know, I will not comment, but definitely from the viewers that I'm seeing in Facebook, a large number, about 300, 400 people listening, we definitely have their ears with us, and about 40 to 50% of them are healthcare professionals, highly qualified, and at least some of them will join our team, and at least we should examine it, if not at any other time, at a time when there is no treatment for COVID-19. It is an untreatable disorder. Earlier we thought only the non-communicable disorders were untreatable. Now we have one communicable disorder which has no treatment. And I will now I would thank all the panelists who have spared their time to deliberate, to be a part of this presentation, but not before I request Dr. Ishwar to make a final comment. Anything you thought you would like to reflect of any of our comments, please do so.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akshay. Due to you, I have the chance to put my ideas with all the panelists. Now I have a suggestion and a opportunity. I have taught two universities in Punjab and Haryana. One is Guru Ravidas Ayurveda University, and one is Shri Krishna Ayush University, Kurukshetra. One is at Hoshiarpur. Both the universities are ready to do all the scientific research on Agnihotra. I invite all the panelists to give their suggestions and be a part of that investigations and the research on that, so that we can contribute to the benefit of the society. Thanks, and thanks to all.
Thank you, Dr. Ishwar. Thank you, Dr. Neelam, Dr. Burke, Dr. Ravindra, and also to these volunteers of Integrative Medicine Case Reports. We have already have Dr. Burke having accepted our invitation. Thank you for that. We will schedule a specific talk, which will be in line with the exploratory series of the Integrative Medicine Case Reports lockdown series. And with that, we close the session. Thank you. Thank you, one, and thank you all. And thank you to all the viewers.
Thank you. Thank you.